Dobili smo dosta malo vremena s ovim bolidom, pa trudim se da vam ispričam sve onako što znam napamet o tome. Zdravo ljubitelji Formule 1, danas imamo specifičnu priliku, pred nama je bolid RB7 iz 2011. godine. Ovo je bolid Marka Webera i Sebastiana Fetela i to je šampionski bolid. 2011. godine imali smo 19 trka, od tih 19 trka ovaj bolid je osvojio 18 pol pozicija i 12 pobjeda. 3 duple pobjede za ovaj tim. Napred imamo push rod vešanje, pozadi je pull rod vešanje. Međutim, ono što ovaj bolid čini veoma specifično je produvani difuzor. O čemu se to radi? Izduvni gasovi nisu ove godine izlazili od buda, izlaze ovde dole, usmeravaju se ka difuzoru. Poenta je da se stabilizuje protok vazduha i na taj način bolidi dobijaju odlično prijanjanje. Ono što je također specifično, Renault koji je tada proizvodio ove motore je pravio specijalne mape motora koje su činile da auspuh izbacuje izduvne gasove čak i kada vozač uopšte ne pritiska gas, jer ukoliko ti izduvnih gasova nema protoka vazduha, što znači da difuzor ne radi svoj posao i nema prijanjanja i zbog toga smo imali problem 80-ih i 90-ih godina kada smo imali također produvane difuzore. Ono je bila naravno prosta verzija toga. Adrian Newey i ekipa 2010. i 2011. su napravili stvarno čudo s ovim difuzorima. Ovde možete vidjeti točkove od 13 inča, ovo su pneumatički za kišu trenutno na bolidu. Ako pogledate malo bliže, možemo vidjeti kokpit auta, unutra se nalazi sedište, ovaj bolid je vozio Dejvidom Kultardom danas. Ova prednja krila su stvarala mnogo prljavog vazduha. Dobili smo dosta malo vremena s ovim bolidom, pa trudim se da vam ispričam sve onako što znam napamet o tome. Svakako ono što je najbitnije je taj produvani difuzor i naravno nov motor koji se tada vozio. Ovdje također možete vidjeti centralnu maticu, što je veoma zanimljivo. Ova centralna matica ima svega 3 navoja. Kada je mehaničar skida, ono što radi, sedi ovdje, bolid mu prilazi, u ruci ima pištolj, vrati točak, ide na centralnu maticu, skida ga. Mehaničar skida točak, drugi stavlja i opet nazad ide centralna matica, što je fantastično. Ovi mehaničari mogu da promene gume za svega 2 sekunde, u Formuli 1 rekord je 1 sekund 91 stotinka, tako da fantastično je to bilo vidjeti i eto, kad uživajte još malo kadrova RB7, šampionski bolid Sebastiana Fetela 2011. godine, King i Kylie.
David, first of all, I wanted to ask you some basic questions because I suppose you're first time here, right?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. How it's been and how do you like Belgrade so far?
Fantastic. I took a little bit of tourism yesterday just on my own, took a little walk around for a couple of hours, wanted to burn some calories. I'm sat on a plane for many hours with some delays and just to look around and get a feel for it. So I have a good experience so far. I'm sure in normal Red Bull style we'll get to experience a little bit the nightlife as well.
Yep.
In a responsible way, of course, and then put on a nice show and go about our next travels.
You have been a F1 driver for many years. Then you retired, and you become exclusive host and reporter. Now, today, you're back again in a F1 car. I wanted to ask you, what are the differences between those two professions for you, and what are the greatest aspects of both sides?
Well, it's very difficult to sort of compare being a Grand Prix driver with working in television, talking about Formula 1. I guess the link is the fact that when I'm talking about it, then I can understand a little bit what the driver is thinking about. Of course, I'm not Max Verstappen, who's an exceptional driver, who's won the World Championship and is going to win it again this year. But I had my moments. But what I see my role is not to go, hey Max, when I won Monaco, this is how it felt. I think my role is to go, hey Max, that was an incredible race. Explain to the people at home what this felt like or what were the challenges. So I'm just there to facilitate his voice and his communication to the fans of the sport. When I was a kid, I wanted to hear from the drivers, and that's what I think a lot of people want to hear from today. So the only reason I'm in that role is, I guess, because I used to do it, therefore I can talk about it on British TV. But being a Grand Prix driver is, 90% pain and frustration for 10% of success and pleasure. And I think that's the same of any professional sport. Nobody dominates or nobody wins all the time. In boxing, of course, maybe you win more often than you lose, but let's say in other sports like Formula One or football or tennis, you're not winning every single time, because that's just not the way it is. There's always going to be somebody on a given day that has better potential or opportunity. So I think that in itself is very rounding as a person, because it helps you understand how to deal with success, the pleasure of that, and how to deal with disappointment and frustration. I had an experience where my son is racing karts, and a couple of weeks ago, and I don't get to go to many of his races because I'm at Grand Prix working in television, but I spoke to him on the Saturday and he was so frustrated and so disappointed that he got held up in qualifying and he was not starting where he wanted, and he had tears of frustration. And I was like, son, I understand, but let me assure you, when I was 30 years old, I was in tears of frustration having had a bad qualifying for the British Grand Prix. These tears are not something that are exclusive to being a child. Yeah. These tears are because of passion, frustration, desire. And the moment you stop having the tears is the moment where you've lost the passion, and that's the moment when you should stop. So, what I can share with him is that if he doesn't like that feeling of crying from frustration, he should stop now, because there's many more moments.
If you don't like pain, well, don't do it.
Don't do it, yeah, absolutely. So, it's an emotional roller coaster, I think, being a sports person and working in television. I don't win, I don't lose.
Yeah.
But I have some days where I go, wow, what I've just seen is truly impressive. And there's other days I go, well, that was a bit boring.